Today, we're going to be talking about purpose, discovering your purpose, and walking in your genius. And you looked up the definition of genius is somebody with extraordinary intellectual power. And the thing that I would like to add to that is emotional intelligence is really important for genius. And also, people can be a genius within mechanics or within it doesn't always have to be the way that we traditionally think about intelligence. There are lots of different types of intelligence, and often people start to talk negatively about themselves and compare themselves to other people. So when I compare what I'm good at to what somebody else who might be really good with cars. So I'm horrible with abstract thinking, I'm horrible with cars. When I go into the mechanic, I'm like, it's doing this, like, I don't even know how to make the noises. Like, that is not my lane. Psychology, counseling, speaking, that is my lane. What do you have to add when we consider this topic?
So what I see is really powerful regarding that. What it is that most people want to look at genius and look at IQ, look at your intelligence, just simply intelligence. And it's deeper than that because everybody has potential. Potential is untapped power, right? So you have the power to be, to do, and to have, right? You have those three elements, but the choice is yours. It becomes yours because everybody has a brain. And so it's tapping into our genius, very innate to us genius. And I'm going to give you a story about a 4-year old. There's a 4-year old who cannot speak, has not spoken. And the deal with it, the parents looked at them and said they would never be successful. They took them around to different doctors to see what the problem was and all of that. And they were probably, at that time, they were probably identified as slow, but that genius was Albert Einstein. And the reason that I lift that up is that just because a person is not doing what we think they should be doing, even in the school system, we want to put people in a box. But then want them, as we hire them, we said, think outside the box. Well, I've been taking 18 years to be in the box. Now you want me out of the box? Wait. So what I'm saying is this, is that when you find your genius, whatever it is, Patrice says hers is psychology, mine is money. Mine is money, leadership. That's my space. I mean, I rock that space. However, it's from the creative perspective. There's a creative genius inside of me. So other people don't get a chance to define your genius. Number one. Number two is most people don't consider people geniuses until they have performed. Now, what's up with that?
And I think that's going to lead into our next conversation about confidence and what are you saying to yourself? Because often people say negative things to their children as they're growing up, or you hear things in school. And then it's that one teacher, it's that one person that believed in the person, or they believed in themselves and they overcame a lot of those barriers. When you think about the boxes that other people try to put us in, it's also their expectations. So if my son wanted to be a garbage truck driver, he loves garbage trucks. He could be a genius at driving garbage trucks. And so I think often we label like, oh, doctors, lawyers, we do this hierarchy when really I adore the people who are helping me out at Costco and the people like whatever you are doing, use your genius within your lane.
And be excellent in that lane, because part of being a genius in the lane talks about being an expert in the lane. Now, they used to say, and I think it's Malcolm Gladwell who brought this up, and also people like Bill Gates talked about 10,000 hours. You can become you can be an expert in any field by studying 10,000 hours. Now that we're in the space that we're in with the social space, what has happened is it doesn't take 10,000 hours anymore. You know why? Because you're tapping into other people's genius. You're tapping into their expertise. Now, what you have to be careful of is what you tap into.
What do you mean by the 10,000 hours?
Identify something you want to be an expert at. Let's say it's finances. So you would study, you would build, you would practice. You would do that for 10,000 hours. And then at that point, you would be considered a genius. Now, let me caveat by saying this. If you went into the financial realm and you taught and you did finance and you were everywhere. I mean, you did financial, you did money, you did this, you did that, but you didn't stay in a lane, then that's not the same. That makes you a generalist. So taking the 10,000 hours is in a specific area and intentionally going after that area to find as much as you can about that specific space. And that's what the 10,000 hours is about. However, again, what I'm saying is that every child has a genius. Every person has a genius. It's just a matter of what is your genius? What is the thing that you get excited about? What is the thing that you're tapping into and you know that you do that really, really well? Some people are organized genius. I mean, they go into a space and as soon as they see clutter, it offends them almost and they want to start cleaning stuff up. We would normally say that there's a problem because they can't stand clutter. But what if that's their genius? Their genius is going out and helping other people organize their life, organize their space.
So, how does genius relate to purpose?
Purpose, that's a great question. Okay, so let's talk about it like this. Let's talk about not just the fact that genius, let's talk about potential, purpose connected to genius, right? So potential is untapped power. Purpose and potential is connected to what I provide, what I can learn, what I can do. Purpose is what I was created to give back, the question or the problem I was created to solve. And everybody has something that they were created to solve. So, and you take your potential and you use it to tap into your purpose, right? And that's where you find your genius. Let's talk about Michael Jackson. He didn't come out of the womb singing. You know what I'm saying? He found this thing that he loved. I mean, he spent his time on. His direction, everything was connected to this thing, right? And he was a performer. He expanded it, he multiplied it. He made millions and millions and millions of dollars. But part of what he did was to make other people happy. Part of his genius was impacting the world.
So that's an interesting point because I don't think he was happy. And so I do think
Right.
that as you're pursuing your purpose, I think it's important to not lose who you are. And that's where confidence. So I don't think that what you do should make up your entire identity. You need to have identity outside of what you do, just in case you ever can't do that, or just it's just
Right.
good in general to have something outside of that, to remember who you are and who you were created to be outside of just being an employee or a business owner or a mom, whatever it is that you're doing.
And usually, don't you think sometimes that's connected to other people's description or the way they think you should be? You know, what they think you should have or what they think you should do or their anticipation or expectation of you. You have no, I won't say no, you have low self esteem. You may have a low self awareness because this is the deal. Anytime you come in with potential or whatever you're coming into this space with, if you allow other people to define who you are, what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to be, and how you're supposed to be it, if you allow other people outside of you to do that, then that means other people's opinion will have a greater impact on every decision that you make for, I won't say for the rest of your life, for let's say until you shift it, until you change that. So this is what happens. Let's talk about a commercial. Commercials tell you what you're not, what you don't have, because they need you. They need your money. They need your time. They need your energy. They need you to buy. Because remember what commercials are for. They have a call to action for you to do something they need you to do, right? So that's what it's connected to. And so when you look at it from that perspective, then what happens is you say, oh, I don't have this. If I get this, I'm going to have this. That's somebody else defining what you should have. Let's go back to genius or potential, right? So my potential is money. I thought Patrice's potential was money because she was very good at it. Potential and purpose is connected, but they're not, I don't want to call them not
Like
married.
causal or
They're okay, so what happens when a person like us have the ability to do a bunch of stuff? Because I can design, I do jewelry, I do all this fun stuff. I make cards, I do all this, right? And then at work, I was a leader. I was, I did a lot of things at work. I was chief EO consultant. I was all of that stuff. What did that connect to my purpose? That's my potential. That's what I can do. So then you draw everything that you can do and you find out what you love to do and how is it related to the answer you're supposed to be to the world, the problem you're supposed to solve. Part of the problem I have found out that I'm supposed to that I was created to solve is to transform people's minds as it relates to wealth. Wealth is not just money. It's our mindset as it relates to money, but not only money. Patrice, I thought her and I were going to do this thing together because I was, accountant and rocking the world. And she had some great skills in that area, but it doesn't mean, and we have to be careful of that when we see other people that have skills in an area, we try to peg them in a hole, and say, well, this is what you're created to do. Well, no, that's just a talent I have. Go ahead.
And what helped me discover my purpose was actually having a bad experience. That sometimes purpose comes out of pain, and turning pain into purpose can help give somebody that why. Because when you have pain with no purpose, then often that can just feel like torture. That can feel like a lot. And so finding purpose in the midst of pain can be really helpful. And I have a whole YouTube video out on that. And really, we might get into more conversations like that here.
Okay, so let's take purpose, right, is on one side, potential is on the other, and then the middle of it as you go through is the process. And so people want to think the process is going to be easy. The process has pain, it has provision, it has productivity, it has profitability, it has people. It has all of those things in the process that we go through. We don't become our best self by ourselves.
Be careful comparing your process to somebody else's process.
Woo! That's a miracle word. I'm serious.
Because you often don't know what other people have went through. You may not see, even if it's your roommate, it doesn't matter who it is, you may not know what it cost them. And so you may be comparing your situation to theirs, not fully knowing everything they had to go through to get to where they are. So walk in your lane, stay in your lane, rock your purpose, and you'll be happy. Because I think sometimes the drop in happiness, the drop in satisfaction is when I'm on Instagram looking at other people traveling, looking at people doing this and that. And so people have to be careful with social media, even on LinkedIn, if people are they're getting this new job, these new opportunities, and I'm still in this other position. There are times, I think, where people are in a position and what they are doing is they are providing for their family. You are providing the stable healthcare, the stable income, and this may not be your passion just yet. And maybe that's where a side business or something else, not everybody can make their full-time job their full passion. Mm-hmm. I do think that is a thing.
It's so much packaged in that. And when you were talking about it, what I heard was, I'm going to go straight into a church. Can we do that for just a second? In church, I have been sitting there and I said, oh my gosh, their anointing, their power, their potential, their gift. That's the word I'm looking for. Their gift. And then you say, somebody sits back and says, oh, I want that gift. I want the gift they have. I want what they got, And you say, and then back to what Patrice said, you don't know what it costs for them to get that. So be careful asking for something that someone else has, specifically because to get it, it normally happens in the valley. See, most people want to stay on the mountaintop. But to be honest with you, most of the things that have impacted my life, the greatest, was in the midst of a valley. I mean, that's how I found out about the money part. It wasn't because I was I mean, I've always been good in making money and that kind of stuff, right? But I found out that I had a gift to get at least myself out of the pit. And then I found out I had the same gift to help others. But it was in the valley. I was homeless, laying on orange shag carpet. And then I realized, based on the things that you change, the people that are in your world, the decisions you make, all lead up to you walking out your purpose.
I would like to make a note that you can't share your vision with everybody.
Whoa.
You can't share where you're going, your plan, because there are people that will step on it, that will tell you what you're not, what you can't do. Protect your vision, protect your purpose from those people, because often you're at a fragile state. So when I was thinking about becoming a psychologist, I'm grateful that the people closest to me were very supportive. And there were some outside people. So I wasn't the best student in high school. I was kind of lazy. I didn't like to do work. I think I just didn't like homework, but excelled in college, excelled in grad school. But I had this thing in my mind that I wasn't really smart enough, because we moved in the midst of a transition. We ended up going from a really easy school where I didn't have to work that hard to going to one of the top schools in our area that had really high expectations. And I struggled with that transition, and it affected how I thought about myself. And so being able to protect yourself in those moments, because there will be times that people will try to make you small because they're small.
Now, let's go back. Listen to what she said. She said she moved, she was in the middle of a transition. Transitions, all of us have come into a huge transition right now because we've dealt with a year of being away from people. Now we're, praise the Lord, we can touch again. I mean, we've got, the shots and stuff. So we're good. However, in the midst of transition requires decision. In the midst of every transition requires decisions, right? So some people go in the middle of a transition and they say with their mouth, no decision, right? But the transition makes you have a decision, because the lack of saying anything or doing anything still causes you to be in the midst of it. It doesn't change the situation. So you either take control of it or you have someone else, you have the situation take control of you. You either take control of the situation by making decisions, or you get a chance of being in control. Now, me personally, I have control issues. I have control issues. Okay. So the reason I say that is this: at least if I make the decision, right or wrong, it was my decision. I get a chance to live with it, and I get a chance to change it again. That's part of what I'm able to do. When a person is in the midst of something else, they can become or feel like a victim. So I'm gonna back up just one more step, if I may. What Patrice didn't tell you is that Patrice has always been smart. Patrice, did you say that L word, lazy up? Okay. Patrice was smart to the point that she didn't have to work. So when we moved from Germany to this other school she was talking about, it was in Virginia, but it was a really high, anyway, we're not gonna get into the details of the school, but it was an amazing school. What happened is A used to be
90 to 100.
90 to 100, and she was an A student. She got there and A was 92. I think it was 92. 92. It was on a different grading scale. She said, whoa, time out. This is a B? She said, oh, if a 90 is a B and I was making an A, I'm just going to make Bs. I'm going to chill back. and make B's. I'm good. It ain't my fault they changed the scale. But I knew she had potential. So, parenting moment. What happens when your children do not appear to be doing all you believe, hear my words, all you as a parent believe that they're capable of? You can fight them, which is not a good idea. If you can see her head shaking, that's not a good idea, because anytime you go against to fight somebody, it's a resistance thing. They're pushing back and forth, and parents typically, we don't win.
And so she did set a boundary. So even though a D was a Germany C, D's were not acceptable in anybody's vernacular or like
In life.
And if a D was my best, she would have thanked me for that D. That would have been great. But she knew that I was capable of making C's.
C's.
I'm sorry. I know. I was capable of making A's and B's. It
Okay.
was a ridiculous grading scale. I believe it was 95. I think it was a 5-point grading
I
scale.
don't think it was
Where a 94,
93.
I think a 90 or 93 or 94 was a B.
And Patrice said, but see, remember we talked about potential. Her potential is, we raised this child who thinks. She's a thinker. So this is what I'll tell you, going back to potential. Your child, I don't care what they're doing right now. I don't care what the situation is. Even you as a person, you have potential. The question is, what are you going to do to find it, to embrace it? And what are you going to do once you embrace it? What are you going to do to make it whatever you desire it to be from that point forward? Because some people die with their potential. They never write a book, right? Do you know that writing a book, whether one person buy it or no people buy it or 1 million people buy it, you're still an author? I mean, not that I'm trying to tell you to write a book just to put it out there. I'm telling you, stop making alibis for not being the best you can be.
And let's cover the characteristics of a genius.
Ooh.
So they have a curious mind, they're abstract thinkers, risk takers, reject routine. And that's where I think in COVID, you kind of need a little bit of a routine. Mm-hmm. But I think this is talking about not conforming to the normal routine, to the traditional routines that people may set.
And then when you look at that, let's use an example. One is that students in school, young children, especially in school, are told that when your child doesn't color within the lines, that's a test. If they can't color within the lines, that's a problem. The school thinks it's a problem. The issue that we have to do as parents, GGs, grandparents, whatever, is when they're I give my grandson a blank piece of paper. He said, and he's looking at me like, I said, make it what you want. Make it what you want. So even though the school may have some boundaries that they're giving children, or even us, life has boundaries for us. You decide, like if I'm at your workplace, I live within your boundaries. You're paying me. If I'm in the school system, there's some things I need to do as a parent, as a student, to stay within your boundaries, right? However, when I step out into my space, remember Patrice talked about being in your lane, I get a chance to be all I desire to be. I can be anything in that space. So this is the genius, the wonder, because really they have found out that real genius is connected to your intelligence, not to your natural intelligence, but to your
thinking.
Your thinking, not your conscious, but your subconscious mind. Most people don't never tap into all they can be in the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind has all of these wonders. Have you walked by something, you said, I wonder how did they make that? Or how did they do that? Or how can this be better? Right? And on the way here, I was thinking, I could have created Spanx. I didn't, because there'd be a different situation going on, because homegirl's a billionaire. So, but just hear me for a moment. I used to cut out the bottom of my stockings and put them on to have the look, but I needed my sandals, right? So a lot of us did that, but nobody took it to the next level. None of us took it to the next level. What are you doing to innovate something that other people are probably need? What are you willing to do to make that a reality? I'm not telling you quit your job. Johnnie didn't say that, because that's not the way I teach. I didn't tell you to go and invest and take all the money out of your house. I didn't say that. I'm saying take the idea and start working with the idea. And then once you take the idea and you look at it, you say, wow, this is really good. And then move it. Remember what Patrice said, be careful who you give your vision to, because not everybody is going to have the same mindset. Because somebody told somebody about, girl, I bet you other people would like this if I cut, the feet out of my stockings and it holds you, stop you from jiggling so much, all that happiness you might have. So anyway, somebody told somebody no. But however, this lady, she told herself yes. That's the key. What are you telling you? How you tap into your genius? You be a person of wonder. You be innovative and creative. You look at things and you ask deep questions. You don't look at things from the perspective of what is necessarily out there, or look for alibis of not things you cannot do. So I'm going to give you an example. There's creative mind, where you create something that you don't feel like that came from a lot of other things. And then there's synthetic. What can you take and bridge together and make something that is better than it was? Uber. They took taxis. Uber is nothing but a taxi, right? It's a taxi, but it's a taxi with a different type of twist. What are you looking at that you have and you think, this would be better if we just did this? So part of what you have to do is you have to be self-aware. That's one of my tips. Be self-aware. Then trust yourself. Value your ideas and thoughts. Write them down. You know how you wake up in the morning and you tapped into something and you wake up with this idea? Jot it down. Jot it down. So look at that. And then remember that you need tenacity. You need a stick-to-itiveness. You need to know that great things are built in the valley.
I love that. And my tips are to turn that pain into purpose. What is the thing that is causing pain, especially in the midst of the past year and a half? There has been so much pain. And in the last year and a half, I have started 2 businesses. And just being able to turn that energy into something positive. Because if I had sat and sulked and let that energy consume me, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have the podcast. I wouldn't be on TikTok. I wouldn't have done any of those things. And I'm grateful that I have a community around me. And so have some other mentors, some other people around you that are going to speak life into you, that are going to speak positive things to you, and speak those positive things to yourself. I promise next week we will have conversations about self-confidence and how you can develop that. We record live on TikTok at 9:30 a.m. on Thursday mornings, and we are over on Clubhouse at 10:30 a.m. on Saturdays, Eastern Standard Time. And the recordings are loaded to YouTube about a week after the audio is released. So this audio is released on Fridays, and then the following Thursday, the YouTube is available. We appreciate you listening, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.